Hi everybody, welcome and thank you for joining our session today where we're going to look at TPG's PowerPack and integration with SAP. So a little bit about TPG's Project PowerPack. TPG's PowerPack is built on the Microsoft Power App platform, combining Power Apps, Power BI, Power Automate and also the Power Virtual Agent technology as well. All of this sits and runs on the Microsoft Dataverse. This is what we are, the pre-configured solution we refer to as the Project PowerPack, which we'll cover in our demo shortly. And additionally, we offer integration of the PowerPack into other solutions and other systems. The slide here shows you just some of the capability that the Project PowerPack offers. We're not going to be covering all of this capability today. We have had a number of other webinars and have others planned, focusing on certain functionality and certain elements of capability. What we are going to be looking at specifically here is the integration with SAP around scheduling and around resource planning and how we can transfer data between Project PowerPack and SAP. So now to the live demo. I'm going to be working almost exclusively in the browser here. This is our Project PowerPack in front of you, what you see now. I'm on my home landing page here, and already I'm starting to see project data from across my projects being surfaced through a Power BI report embedded in the page. Down the left hand side you'll see quick access links to various elements of the solution. We've got organize our work by portfolios, programs, projects. We can click in and have a look at actions. We can look at resource planning, and we can also connect out to reporting. We're going to be working specifically on projects here and linking certain elements of project data into the SAP world. So I've clicked on projects. I'm presented with a list of the projects that are my active projects. I've got various bits of information here, headline information on these projects, overall status, owners and so forth. I'm going to click into the webinar demo project which I've set up earlier, and this will take me through to the overall project details page. So here I can capture certain information such as the project name, stakeholders, connect it through to a portfolio if required, connect it to a program, move the project, what state the project is in. I can also assign different types of projects. It could be an internal project, it could be a customer project, it could be a capital project, for example. We've got a number of KPIs here. These can be subjective and entered by the user, or they can be calculated based on all up cost data, dates, and so forth. And also we've got some headline estimates here on the right hand side as well that we can manage on the project as well. There are a number of other tabs here. As I mentioned, we've got a number of other sessions either that have happened or that are planned in the future to tackle and demo some of these this capability. I'm going to scroll across here to the right to the ERP structure element, and we'll take a look at what we're going to do with this this particular project. So as I mentioned, we can determine a project type, and the way we've configured this project type that I've selected allows us to preload a template, and that template will contain a number of key elements that we require for SAP integration. So you'll see here, those of you that are familiar with SAP, we've got a project definition, we've got a number of WBS milestones, and we've also got a number of WBSs. As I said, this is preloaded, a predefined template. You can have many templates, or this can just be an input screen where you build up your structure on the fly. The idea behind this is we're going to create this structure first of all in PPP. Once we're comfortable with it, we're then going to sync that across to SAP. Just before we start the synchronization with SAP, I just want to draw your attention to this object ID column. At the moment this has got the templated object identifiers, but we've got nothing here that relates to an SAP project, certainly not at this stage. I'm now going to move towards triggering the synchronization with SAP. I'm going to click at the top here onto the execution center, and at the moment I've got nothing. I haven't synchronized this project before, so I've got a blank list. But what I want to do now is initiate the creation of an SAP project, and using the data that we had in that template that we've set up, generate some work breakdown structures and some WBS milestones in SAP. So if I click on new PSLink job, I get the following view. that if I click here, we've got a number of specific options. So the first thing I'm going to do is run a sync structure to SAP. As I mentioned, it's going to generate a project definition, WBS, and some milestones. And you'll notice here we have a number of other options, but I'm going to kick things off with this sync structure. I'm going to click Save and Close. I'm getting a message to say that has been queued. This is going to run for a few seconds. You'll notice here we get an alert on the top that it's been initiated. We'll also, once it's been completed, we'll get information when that's happened. I'm going to click on the refresh button. Sits in the queue for a few seconds. This is now leveraging the Power Platform, triggering Power Automate jobs. It then hooks into TPG's middleware, which is now talking to SAP, establishing what project codes are available, determining the next available project code, generating work breakdown structures, generating milestones, and you'll see here we've got the message that this has been successful. I'm now going to jump over onto our SAP system. I'm going to go into the project builder transaction in SAP. This is S4HANA, but the integration that you see does support all releases of SAP. I don't know my project code yet, so let me jump back to the PPP. If I jump back to the ERP structure, you'll notice I mentioned before the object ID. It's still not showing anything specific, but if I hit the refresh button, you'll see now I'm starting to get various codes back, and I know based on the way our SAP system is configured, that's project definition number N-TPG-0234, and these are also some milestone numbers. So I know that project code has just been generated in SAP. So if I go back to my SAP system, type in the project code N-TPG-0234, that should show me the brand new project just generated, the webinar project. That's our project definition. You'll notice a lot of the information here I didn't have to enter. We can default that if need be, if you're working in a single controlling area, a single company code, or these are input fields that we can build into PPP. The majority of this in this example we have defaulted. You'll see then the work breakdown structure that we saw in PPP and generated in PPP has come across to SAP. The project prefix has been added to those, and you'll also see our milestone numbers generated, and they've also been written back into PPP. So just to confirm, there's our work breakdown structure milestone entries. So as you can see, we've now synchronized our work breakdown structure and related milestones into SAP and established that bidirectional feedback loop. So we've got feedback from SAP what's been done, and I think you'll agree it's quite a straightforward, intuitive user experience. But what do we do with this next? So we've established our structure. Typically what we want to do with this project is do some level of forecasting, and ideally we do that once, single point of entry, and then transfer that over to SAP. So I'm going to move across here to our financials and click on this. At the moment we've got no data in here, but what I want to do is add some forecast information on the financial side of things. So it's a forecast. You can see here I've immediately got a drop down list of the work breakdown structures that we previously synced to SAP. So a few seconds ago those didn't exist. I'm going to say, let's say on the tender element of the work, I'm going to involve some services, and you can see here straight off I've got what we call internally the eyebrow. So this is a visual cue to tell me that if the work breakdown structure that we sync, we'd put some provisional dates in, and that's where we're aiming to capture those. I'm not bound by those dates, so I can come in here and I can say that there's going to be 6,000 euros worth of services, but it's actually going to take 2 months. It's going to run into 2 months. But it's a useful visual cue to think about planning in that space. So that's I can do some financials in terms of planning and numeric values. What I can also do is look at things from a resource perspective. So if I click on the resource plan over on the left here, again I've got a blank plan, but I'm going to plan some of my workforce against this project. So I've got some generic codes, and I'm going to involve engineering. Again, this is forecast, and it's not going to be on the tender, it's going to be on the research phase. And you can see again, up pops the little blue eyebrow to tell me that's roughly when we initiated the work breakdown structure where we planned it. I'm going to plan 20 FTEs in June, July, and this one is also going to run into August. You'll notice there's a heat map. There's a red, amber, green shading going on here. This is a neat feature within PPP where we get a live heat map on resources as we build them into our projects to inform us that resource is allocated elsewhere, and just helps us potentially assign different resources or start the discussion around our other resources available. So very quickly and very easily, I've put together a financial forecast and a resource forecast. I'm now ready to send this off to SAP. So before I send it off to SAP, I need to just check in the SAP project that the project is released. So I'm just going to release that project so that it can accept forecasts. Save that, and I better just exit it in case I lock out the project at any point. Back to PPP, over to the execution center again. Click on that. You see there the log of the previous sync that we did. I'm going to click on a new option, and this time, instead of syncing the structure, I'm going to transfer forecast. And what this will do is it'll take the resource forecast and the financial forecast and transfer that into cost planning in SAP. I'm going to kick that off, get informed that it's up and running, an alert to tell me things are off and running. You can see it's in the queue. Give it a few seconds. I'm going to click on the refresh. You notice it'll sit in the queue. We're off and running, so it's now taking that data from PPP, transferring it over to SAP, and in a few seconds we should get feedback that that has been completed. There we go, and I'm now expecting to jump into SAP and check that forecast. So we'll take a look over in SAP. We'll go over to the project cost forecasting part of the system, enter our project ID and click in. And we'll see here we've our work breakdown structure on the left hand side, and we've got a number of entries here, one on the 1.1 WBS and one on the 1.3. 1.1 was the tender element, and if I select that and click on the primary costs, I seem to remember that I planned 6,000 euros worth across 2 months, so 12,000 in total, and that was on services. So if I select the services and have a look at the period screen, I see there that aligns with what I entered into PPP, 6,000 in June and 6,000 in July. Backing up to the project overview, I also have some values here on the 1.3, which from memory was the research WBS element, and on that one I planned some labor. So if I click on activity input, you can see here I've got a total of 60 hours. And if I select that and click on the period screen, that gives me a breakdown of 20 hours in June, 20 in July and 20 in August, which corresponds to the resource forecast that I captured in the PPP side of things.